कोरोना एक वैश्विक महामारी थी, लेकिन उसे भी दलगत राजनीति के लिए उपयोग में लाया जाए, क्या ये मानवता के लिए अच्छा है?
Prime Minister Narendra Modi blamed the Congress party and the Delhi government for the migrant exodus during the nationwide lockdown in 2020. He accused them of instigating migrant workers to leave and spread COVID-19 to states like Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Punjab. But here's why many parts of the Prime Minister's speech are both factually wrong and problematic. Let me explain. But first, I just want to quickly remind you to support our journalism here at the News Minute. Stories like this take time and effort, and we cannot do this without your support. So become a member of the News Minute today. We have two types of membership starting at 1,179 rupees for an entire year. Also, to catch every episode of Let Me Explain, which comes out every week, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, so a lot has happened since the pandemic began 2 years ago, and it's easy to forget dates and timelines. So let me quickly refresh your memory. At 8 p.m. on March 24, 2020, Prime Minister Modi appeared on live TV to announce a complete nationwide lockdown for 21 days.
आज रात 12 बजे से पूरे देश में, ध्यान से सुनिए, पूरे देश में आज रात 12 बजे से संपूर्ण देश में संपूर्ण लॉकडाउन होने जा रहा है.
Prime Minister Modi essentially gave the country, that's 1.3 billion people, less than 4 hours notice for a lockdown that was to last 21 days. Despite Modi asking people not to panic, what followed was just that. People rushed to grocery stores to stock up on essentials. Migrant workers packed up their bags and walked to their hometowns, hundreds of kilometers away, because there was no public transport. With these facts and the chronology out of the way, now let's listen to what Prime Minister Modi had to say in the Lok Sabha.
तब कांग्रेस के लोगों ने क्या किया? मुंबई के रेलवे स्टेशन पर खड़े रह करके मुंबई छोड़कर जाने के लिए प्रोत्साहित करने के लिए मुंबई में श्रमिकों को टिकट दिया गया, मुफ्त में टिकट दिया गया, लोगों को प्रेरित किया गया कि जाओ महाराष्ट्र में हमारे पर जो बोझ है वो जरा कम हो, और जाओ तुम उत्तर प्रदेश के हो, तुम बिहार के हो, जाओ वहां कोरोना फैलाओ. उस समय दिल्ली में ऐसी सरकार थी जो है, उस सरकार ने तो जीप पर माइक बांध करके दिल्ली की झुग्गी झोपड़ी में गाड़ी घुमा करके लोगों को कहा संकट बड़ा है, भागो, गांव जाओ, घर जाओ, और दिल्ली से जाने के लिए बसें दी, आधे रास्ते छोड़ दिया और श्रमिकों को लिए अनेक मुसीबतें पैदा की. और उसका कारण हुआ कि यूपी में, उत्तराखंड में, पंजाब में जिस कोरोना की इतनी गति नहीं थी, इतनी तीव्रता नहीं थी, इस पाप के कारण कोरोना ने वहां भी अपनी लपेट में ले लिया.
The Prime Minister makes three serious accusations against the Congress in Maharashtra and the Arvind Kejriwal government in Delhi. The first is that they instigated migrant workers to leave Mumbai and Delhi. Here's why the Prime Minister is factually wrong. For starters, there appears to be no evidence that the Maharashtra government, which the Congress is a part of, and the Delhi government actually ordering migrant workers to leave. In fact, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal had on March 27th urged migrant workers to stay behind. The fact is that an ill-conceived overnight lockdown left many in a panic, including migrant workers. They were not motivated to leave because parties told them to run away, but because most had no money to stay behind. Their work had been stopped and many had no place to stay.
अब जो भी पैसा कौड़ी हम लोग के पास था वो सब खाया पिया आज तक. अब इसलिए हम लोग जा रहे हैं गांव पैदल.
क्यों जा रहा है? भूखा पेट है, क्या करेगा, काम नहीं चल रहा, किधर क्यों जा रहा है?
लंबा सफर है, फिर भी तय किए हम लोग.
गाड़ी जो आ रही है ना, इसी में हेल्प मांगते मांगते जाएंगे. दिन से मैं आया हूँ, उस बिल्डिंग में हल्ले का अलाउ होनर नहीं दे रहा है हमको। हम इधर से जा रहे हैं तो हमको आप व्यवस्था दीजिए रहने का और खाने का, तो हम चल रहे हैं वापस घूम के चल रहे हैं। उस रूम को हमको जाने नहीं देगा, उसमें हल्ले ही नहीं देगा, रहने नहीं देगा। इसलिए सर यही रिक्वेस्ट है, या तो हमको आप जगह दे दीजिए या तो हमको आगे जाने का अनुमति दीजिए।
The second allegation that the Prime Minister makes is that the Congress gave free tickets to migrant workers in Mumbai, while in Delhi the state government provided buses for them to leave. The Prime Minister may be factually correct here, but there's a lot of context that's missing. 1. The Indian Railways began operating the Shramik special trains on May 1st, 2020 to transport migrant workers and others stranded during the lockdown. The Prime Minister may perhaps be right in saying the Congress provided free tickets. Many state governments covered the entire fare to transport migrant workers back home during the lockdown. And that's because the union government did not pay for these tickets, contrary to their initial claims. Likewise, the Prime Minister is factually correct in saying that the Delhi government provided buses for migrant workers to leave. And that's because migrant workers were walking hundreds of kilometers to get to their hometowns. The state government was merely responding to desperate requests of migrant workers to get them back home. Did these buses drop them off midway like Modi claims? Probably. There have been many accounts of migrant workers not being able to reach their final destination and being forced to walk to get home. 2. And this is important because this is what's missing in the Prime Minister's speech, is that it wasn't just the Delhi government alone that arranged buses. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath also said that his government would arrange 1,000 buses to ferry migrant workers back. Now, the third and final allegation that the Prime Minister makes is that the Maharashtra and Delhi governments urged migrant workers to go and spread COVID-19 to states like Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Punjab, where the coronavirus had not spread that fast. The Prime Minister's claims are false. 1. Like I mentioned earlier, there is no evidence that these state governments ordered migrant workers to leave. Nor is there any proof that they urged migrant workers to leave so as to spread COVID-19 to other states. 2. The fact of the matter is that many home states of migrant workers made arrangements to bring them back, like Uttar Pradesh and its 1,000 buses. The Prime Minister may be partly right in saying that COVID had not spread fast in states like Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Punjab. They were reporting only a handful of cases during the nationwide lockdown. But remember, testing was extremely limited during the beginning of the pandemic in India. And less testing means less cases detected. Yes, there were also reports of some migrant workers taking the virus back home to their villages. But to singularly pin the blame upon migrant workers for spreading COVID-19 is deeply problematic. After all, the alternative of forcibly containing migrant workers to centers during the lockdown wasn't working either. There were protests in many parts of the country of migrant workers demanding to return home, of not getting proper food and shelter in camps. Now, the focus of the Prime Minister's speech was on the first wave in India. And the plight of migrant workers was at the very center of India's struggle during the first wave. But there are many things that Modi did not mention. 1. That the struggle the migrant workers faced was brought on by a poorly planned and sudden lockdown, which the states were not consulted on. The lockdown was a unilateral decision by the Modi government. 2. It was the same union government that said it had no data when asked how many migrant workers died during the lockdown while returning home. Remember the 16 migrant workers who were run over by a goods train after they fell asleep on the tracks in May 2020? By choosing to mention only the first wave, Prime Minister Modi absolved his government of responsibility. It was, after all, Prime Minister Modi who declared victory over COVID-19 in January 2021, just weeks before cases began to spiral out of control in the second wave. What did you think of Prime Minister Modi's speech in the Lok Sabha? Tell us in the comments. Also, if you've liked this video, don't forget to hit like and share this video with your friends.